What if everything you watched on Monday Night Raw was planned from day one? Welcome back to Suplex Rumble, where we don't just watch wrestling, we dissect it. Ladies and gentlemen, the WWE Universe has been buzzing for weeks. The internet broke. Fan forums crashed. Social media nearly imploded. And if you've been keeping your eyes glued to Monday Night Raw, you already know exactly why. Logan Paul, the Maverick, the man who walked into professional wrestling as an outsider and turned himself into one of the most polarizing figures in the entire industry, has been living a nightmare. Someone sent a masked attacker after him, methodically, deliberately, with precision. And for weeks we've all been asking the same question, burning in the back of every wrestling fan's mind: who is behind this? Tonight we expose the master plan. Stay with me, because this storyline is deeper than anything you might expect. Let's rewind the tape, because context is everything in professional wrestling. Logan Paul came into WWE carrying more baggage than a first-class airport carousel. He was brash. He was loud. He made enemies the moment he stepped through that curtain. And whether you love him or can't stand him, you have to admit the man has magnetic screen presence. But here's the thing about making enemies in this business: eventually, one of them stops talking and starts acting. Weeks ago, in the middle of what should have been a standard Raw segment, a masked figure emerged from the crowd. No music, no announcement, just dark clothing, a covered face, and a crystal clear intention to destroy Logan Paul. The attack was calculated. Not a random brawl, this was targeted. Specific moves, specific timing, like someone had studied Logan Paul's vulnerabilities and handed this attacker a blueprint. Logan sold it brilliantly. By the way, the shock on his face was either incredible acting or genuine fear, and honestly, in this business, that line barely exists. Security cleared the ring, the segment ended, but the questions? The questions were just getting started. Who trained this person? Who hired them? Who gave the order? And most importantly, why Logan Paul specifically? Now, in the days and weeks that followed, the wrestling internet went absolutely wild with theories. And I want to walk you through the most compelling suspect cases, because this is where it gets fascinating. Suspect number 1: a jealous locker room veteran. Think about this from a pure wrestling logic standpoint. Logan Paul waltzed in here, skipped the years of house shows, the dark matches, the developmental grind, and got handed marquee matchups and pay-per-view spotlight almost immediately. That kind of fast-tracking doesn't sit well with everyone. Could someone who spent a decade grinding their way up the card finally snap? Absolutely plausible. Suspect number 2: a business rival with a personal grudge. Logan Paul is not just a WWE superstar, he's a business mogul. Prime, his social media empire, his boxing ventures. He has competitors outside the wrestling world who might want to see him humiliated on the biggest possible stage. What better place to embarrass someone than live television in front of millions? Suspect number 3: someone closer than you'd think. This is the theory that sent chills down the spines of hardcore fans. What if the person who sent that masked attacker isn't a rival, isn't a hater from across the industry, but someone Logan Paul has shaken hands with? Someone who smiled at him backstage and played the long game? In wrestling, the best heel turns are always the ones you didn't see coming. And this one? Ladies and gentlemen, this one had all the hallmarks of something beautifully sinister. Let me tell you something about great wrestling storytelling. The best storylines, the ones that stick with you for years, they don't just happen. They're built like architecture. Every piece matters. Every segment is a breadcrumb. So when Logan Paul started investigating, started pulling on that thread, what WWE's creative team did was absolutely masterful. They gave us misdirection, red herrings planted in interviews, vague promos that pointed fingers without full commitment, social media activity that felt suspicious but explainable. Every time you thought you'd cracked it, boom, another layer appeared. And then came the night everything changed. Logan Paul, mic in hand, sweat still drying from his last match, stood in the middle of that ring and announced he had proof. Not rumors. Not accusations. Proof. The arena went pin drop silent. Thousands of people holding their breath. Millions watching at home sitting up a little straighter. And when that footage rolled, when the name was revealed, the WWE Universe lost its mind. Now here's where we talk about what this means, not just for Logan Paul but for WWE as a whole. Because the reveal of the person behind the masked attacker isn't just a storyline beat, it's a creative statement. It tells us exactly what direction WWE's writers want to take this, what feuds are being built, and who WWE believes is ready to carry a main event program. When you look at the mechanics of this angle, the masked attacker as a storytelling device has a long and legendary history in professional wrestling. It creates mystery. It drives fan speculation. It gets people watching every single week because they don't want to miss the next piece of the puzzle. And attaching that device to Logan Paul? Genius. Here's why. Logan Paul is one of the most talked about figures on the planet regardless of wrestling. When you make him the center of a whodunit mystery, you're not just talking to hardcore wrestling fans. You're pulling in his audience, his YouTube viewers, his social media followers, millions of people who might not have watched Raw in years, or maybe never at all. That's crossover appeal. That's how you grow this industry. But here's my honest take, and this is where I want to hear from you in the comments. For all the spectacle and the celebrity draw, this storyline also has to deliver in the ring. The physical payoff has to match the emotional buildup. Because wrestling fans, hardcore fans, they're incredibly smart. They'll pop for the moment, but they remember the match quality longer. If this angle leads to a pay-per-view match that tears the house down, instant classic. If it fizzles in the execution, the internet will not be kind. Personally, I'm optimistic. And here's why. Now I want to take a moment because there's another massive story running parallel to all of this that we absolutely cannot ignore on this channel. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the most decorated superstar of his generation, shocked the wrestling world on Monday Night Raw by unveiling a new faction that has drawn enormous reaction from the WWE Universe. Fans are divided. And honestly, that's exactly the point. Here's the thing about Roman Reigns that separates him from virtually every other performer in this industry: he has mastered the art of making people feel something. Love him, hate him, cheer him, boo him, the passion is real. And passion is the lifeblood of professional wrestling. The decision to reframe, reimagine, or rebuild around that Shield legacy, it speaks to WWE's creative confidence. They're not running from history. They're weaponizing it. Whether you think it's the right call creatively, whether you think these new members deserve that platform, those are conversations we are absolutely having in the comments section today. But one thing is certain: the stories on Monday Night Raw right now are interconnected in ways that reward the loyal viewer. And that is exactly what this show needs to be, firing on all cylinders. Alright, so where does this Logan Paul storyline go from here? Let me throw out some directions I think are genuinely possible. Direction 1: full heel turn for the attacker. The person behind this doubles down. No apologies. They wanted Logan Paul exposed, humiliated, and they're proud of every second of it. That becomes a red-hot pay-per-view feud with a built-in grudge match. Direction 2: the shocking alliance. What if, hear me out, what if the reveal of the mastermind leads to a reluctant alliance between Logan Paul and a former rival? Enemy of my enemy scenarios in wrestling almost always produce compelling television. Direction 3: Logan Paul goes full babyface. This whole ordeal humanizes him. The audience who has been mixed on him starts to genuinely root for him because they've watched him fight through adversity. That's a character arc. That's storytelling. Whichever direction WWE chooses, and they may choose all three simultaneously, the foundation has been laid for something that could be genuinely memorable. And that, folks, is what we're all here for. I want to know what you think. This is your community just as much as it's mine. Drop it in the comments. Who did you think sent the masked attacker before the reveal? Do you think WWE made the right call with this storyline? And where do you see it going from WrestleMania season? If this video gave you something to think about, if it made you feel even a fraction of that electricity that professional wrestling can deliver when it's firing on all cylinders, please do me a massive favor, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more wrestling fans just like you. Subscribe to Suplex Rumble. We post analysis, breakdowns, and deep dives every single week. You are not going to want to miss what's coming next. And share this video with any wrestling fan in your life who's been sleeping on Raw, because this is the perfect moment to wake them up.